What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the PNN podcast, episode 7.5. As always, Edward Demon and Joey Parati coming to you on YouTube. Joey, it's the first week. MLB season is underway. We're right in the swing of things. Good episode ahead. The Final Four is also here this upcoming weekend. NBA and the playoff push. A lot of good stuff to talk about on episode, like I said, 7.5.
Yeah, do you want to explain to the people why is it 7.5 or should we just bypass that? No
Honestly,
questions.
I think no questions. Yeah, it's 7.5. 7.5 will probably be a historic episode, really. So
Yeah,
it's a
I
lot
mean,
all.
as the viewers, let us know what other podcast is doing point 0.5 episodes.
Right. And that's this thing, like I haven't seen that before. And here at the PNN podcast, we try to be innovative and like next level
Yeah.
with our stuff. And this
Number
is just a
one,
small step towards that.
number one innovation,
Yeah,
ASU 8 years in a row. We're doing it on the PNN
exactly.
podcast. We carry that
Exactly.
legacy over.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah, so let's dive into MLB, shall we?
Yeah.
Recapping the opening week. I think the headline that everyone is reading, whether you're not a baseball fan or a baseball fan, is the new innovative torpedo bats, used by the one and only the dark side, the Yankees, of course. Um, what are initial thoughts on it, Edward? Uh, I'm pretty sure you've seen the headlines. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of taking over the world and the league right now.
Yeah. Well, like, as someone who doesn't play baseball, Joe, you can probably speak to a little more as a former and probably still current baseball player in your casual, in your leisure time. But I don't know, the whole science behind it, like my first reaction is, does that make sense, right? You put the wider part of the barrel where you're actually hitting the ball. Um, so yeah, I think from like the whole perspective of the science behind it, it makes sense. But at the same time, like my first reaction too was, is this legal and is this allowed per MLB rules? Because obviously, you can't dismiss the fact that the Yankees, who are, I think they probably have the most players that use them, if I'm not mistaken, um, just raked. I don't know what was the record in that game. I mean, it was unbelievable, like 20 home runs or something, 15 home
Yeah,
runs.
I mean the first game was close against the Brewers like 3-2 and then they just blew them out
Yeah,
like out of the water. And to give credit, the pitching staff for the Brewers is not top notch at all and their bullpen isn't either. But at the same time, the amount of home runs like Jazz Chisholm was hitting was insane. I don't think anybody expected that.
yeah,
But nonetheless, I would say my initial thoughts were the same as yours, kind of, except like I don't know. I was kind of more like, is this really needed?
yeah,
At the same time, it's like it's the same bat. You're just putting it where like they hit it. And I think originally it was created for Anthony Volpe, the shortstop for the Yankees, because they realized, 90% of your hits are coming from the label. So let's just put more wood into the label.
yeah.
And then, I mean, that's basically how it was created.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing too with like the torpedo bats and part of what's going into them is I guess it's expected, but obviously, that spot changes for everybody, right? Everyone hits the baseball at a different part of the barrel and they can move that, now with the torpedo bats, like where they want to put the widest part of the barrel. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I want to see a bigger sample size, right? Like more players are starting to use them. I forget which team it was. I want to say it was like the Braves or someone just put in an order for quite a few of them. So like
Yeah.
I think I'll be able to make my statement after I see everybody use them because also at the same time like the Yankees do have a lot of bombers on that team. So, it could have been that too.
Yeah. I think it was the Phillies that put it in
Was it
order.
it might have been the Phillies, yeah.
I think
Okay.
like Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh all put in orders for it. So
Yeah.
shout out the inventor of the torpedo bat. He was a MIT graduate, then went to the Yankees, and now he's in Miami. So that just shows you how
Yeah.
they use him for that, and then they ship him off to the bottom feeders.
Right.
Uh, so that's the inventor of the torpedo bat for you. But yeah, I mean we'll see how it translates to other teams. I think some other guys had it already, but not making headlines like how the Yankees did
Right.
and everything. But. Speaking of headlines, you want to take this next segment into your Chicago Cubs last night. What did we witness?
Yeah, well, we witnessed history, and it was history that broke a drought, yet another drought for the Cubs, I should say, because obviously our franchise just lives in droughts. Carson Kelly, he was the first player to hit for the cycle in Cubs history, 32 years since this last happened, of course, en route to an 18-3 victory out in Sacramento as they take on the A's. But I still want to call them the Oakland A's, and I feel like I'm still going to. But yeah, Carson Kelly was I think he homered I think he homered in the fourth, and then had another big hit in the fifth, and it kind of was just a cascading effort throughout that game. But yeah, a big day, I guess, for the Cubs, just in terms of getting that drought broken. But of course, just another reason why the Chicago Cubs should be considered frontrunners for the World Series.
Got it. Got it. We'll take that with a
Also,
great.
just another nugget here. Sorry, the Royals right now actually hold the longest streak without a cycle in the majors. Their last one was in 1990. So, you know, just putting that out there. Just throwing that out there.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take that with a grain of salt. The Chicago Cubs front runners. Still waiting to see your bullpen.
I was gonna say
I
I'm still waiting for that too because there was a game that happened just down the street here a couple days ago where the Cubs did have a 6-2 lead in the eighth inning and ended up losing the game. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. Sounds about right, honestly. Um, but yeah, I think the most impressive thing is that this was done in a minor league stadium, and it was on the home opener for the A's, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of you guys definitely spoiled the Sacramento faithful out there.
Yeah, definitely an interesting experience there too. It's funny because I was watching the game and there's lawn seating and stuff, so it kind of reminds me of when we talked about spring training out here, how it's just a completely different experience. Obviously, their stadium's a little bigger than some of the spring training facilities out here, but very much reminiscent of that with the lawn out in out in right field. So I'm interested to see like what the numbers are going to be throughout the season for teams that play there. Um, I meant to look up what the you know what the measurements were of the park, but I didn't. But yeah, 18 runs from the Cubs, so not a great start for the A's in their new home.
Yeah, they'll be all right. I got faith in them.
Yeah,
Very dark horse team, like I said before. I think everyone's kind of buying into that now that they look at the lineup.
yeah,
Um, so watch out for the A's, man. Not
yes,
right
sir.
now though. They're kind of ass, but long season. Let's go back to the Yankees and then the Dodgers, of course. I mean, two top teams. They're the only two remaining undefeated teams, which comes without surprise, I feel like. Um, Dodgers obviously got that start in the Tokyo series, carried it over to the States, and they handled who they open with?
You have to remind me. I forget, man. The Cubs, the Cubs, maybe. I mean, really,
What was it?
the Cubs?
I'm actually like dead ass asking.
Yes, they opened with the Cubs, bro, and there was a
No,
lot of
not in Tokyo. Not,
oh,
I'm
not in
saying out
Tokyo.
here.
Oh, okay, okay.
I
They
know
opened
you
with
guys you
the
guys suck in
Tigers.
Tokyo. I know.
They opened with the Tigers. Of course, they
Yeah.
had they had it was a walk off the one night. So.
Yeah, you don't gotta remind me of the Tokyo series, but I know you guys sold the bag. It's all good.
No, it was jet lag and stuff, so you can't really blame it. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. But as far as the Dodgers go, their schedule kind of gets interesting coming up here because they play the Braves. They're in a series with the Braves right now. They got the Phillies to round off this weekend, so I'll be interested to see how long this streak can go for them. But as far as like, looking at this, from a bigger perspective, right? The rich keep getting richer. The Dodgers and Yankees, probably the two front runners once again this season. And I don't know, it's already showing early in the season. That kind of scares me because I can only imagine how these two teams are going to be rounding into form when it comes to October.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would say that Tigers series, those Tigers played tough games.
Yeah,
Like they didn't just shy away. Those are quality games from them. And the Dodgers just always pull it out. So I mean that might be how the story goes this season.
yeah,
Again, first series of the year, but maybe a foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of that series, though, I want to bring in how like their prospect Roki Sasaki from Japan. I think he's like 18 years old. Um, he started one of those games, only lasts like 1 and 2/3 innings. And like they videoed him like crying on the bench, and it was
Yeah.
like, damn, bro. And everyone was defending him, saying like, bro, he's so far away from home. Um, he has so much like pressure on him. So just something to look out for the Dodgers, you know.
Yeah, I probably fall into that same group to be honest with you. You know, being so young, so far away from home, like let's be honest, you are playing for one of the most iconic franchises in baseball. Also the fact those games were at home, so you know, out in LA, you got 40,000 plus, you know, in there to see you and all the hype that comes with it and trying to live up to that hype. So, yeah, I'm not hopping off the bandwagon quite yet, but you know, everything always seems to work out for the Dodgers.
Yeah. I mean, probably the first start, bro, so much pressure on him. Don't be surprised if this dude turns out to be like a Cy Young candidate
Yeah.
the next like 2 months. You know, that's just how the Dodgers roll. Um, and like for him, bro, he's just got to take the pressure off. Dude, that lineup is stacked and your bullpen is stacked, and then you have other stars like Yamamoto, Blake Snell,
Yeah.
Glass now. They'll pick you up. So
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, there's also something to be said about kind of just getting that out of the way. Like you're eventually going to throw a clunker. You know, it's bound to happen in the MLB, especially, you know, your first year being here. So I think sometimes too, there's like an element of now he's got that out in the way. He can play a little more free. You know, we've already seen him, you know, kind of not play so great and maybe you know, perform under expectations. So now we can be a little more free and not play with as much pressure. So in the long run, like not a horrible thing, especially because it happens early in the season. He kind of already got that out the way.
yeah. So that's the Yankees and Dodgers right now. Undefeated teams, only two remaining. Let's say in the AL East, let's talk about Rafi Devers and how he may be the next Chris Davis of our time. Um, if you don't know, Rafael Devers was the former third baseman for the Red Sox. He's now DH since the signing of Alex Bregman. He's now 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts to start the season. It's kind of crazy when your position is designated to hit and you have not hit at all. We'll see what happens with Rafi. Um, Again, this might just be like a quick slump, maybe get into his head, you know, not playing third base every day. You know, that might have got to his head, and now it's carried over into the season. But what do you think? Any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, it's just and today, you know, people kind of forget, but you know, this is a guy who's posted 330 homer seasons, 300 RBI seasons. You know, he's been one of the game's better hitters. But then you just kind of fall into a slump, and that's the game of baseball. I mean, one day you have it, the next day you don't, and you know, no telling how long that can prolong for. Um, but yeah, first player to strike out 12 times in the team's first four games, 15 strikeouts through 5 games was the old record was 13. So um, you want to call it a slump, but at this point, you know, it's probably a little more than a slump. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just a game of baseball. It's kind of like the game of golf. You know, you just lose your swing one day and you can't find it, and then eventually you'll pick it back up. But like I said, I mean, the body of work speaks for itself. You know, he's been that guy in previous seasons, so you know, I wouldn't be surprised that once he turns it around, you know, he starts to kind of hit that groove and kind of goes on a little bit of a streak, maybe in the other way.
Yeah. With that downfall, though, the rise of Kristen Campbell has come to pass for the Red Sox. Number seven ranked prospect in baseball has now shown up heavy um, with the absence of Rafael Devers. I mean, this kid's on a tear, and everyone would kind of know that, or not. I mean, not expect it right away from him, but it's kind of weird how you know Devers is down, but
Yeah.
one of the top prospects has come up, and now he's kind of carrying the load for them. So
Yeah, we talked about early too, that AL East, very competitive division in baseball. Red Sox 1-4, so you don't want to blow things out of proportion, but at the same time, we've seen in previous seasons, at the end of the year, you get to September, single games matter in the playoff race, especially in that division. So, you don't want to read too much into it, but at the same time, like every game's important in that division. You can't take a night off, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, and if this is a bad omen for the Red Sox, moving forward.
Yeah. Campbell's batting 375 right now with 6 hits, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. So we'll see if that continues for them.
Yeah,
Let's get into some standings, eh?
yeah,
Let's talk about how the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are in first place in the division. Nothing too crazy, just some light work.
okay,
That's just the program we have over there, to be honest.
right.
Um,
I mean, that's just a
other than
standard.
that,
That's just a standard for you guys, so that's expected.
yeah. Other than that, nothing else to really talk about in these standings. Besides that, the White Sox are also tied for first place.
Yeah. Who
So
did who did the White Sox beat though? Early, like I want to say it was their home opener.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't really watch too many White Sox games,
Right, right,
respectfully.
for sure, for sure.
If you're watching White Sox games, you're just like either unemployed or you just got too much time on your hands.
Right, right.
That's just me though. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, okay.
Let's talk about the Braves and how they have started off as the worst team in the MLB.
Yeah.
Not something I was expecting at all,
Mm-hmm.
with an 0-5 start, getting swept in that 4 game series against the Friars in San Diego.
Yeah.
Um, they'll eventually pick it up. I think this is just a stretch. Again, I think they finish higher than Washington for sure, at least. Um, but pretty surprising. I mean, I thought Atlanta for San Diego, that's like two top teams going at it, but it just seemed like San Diego had the upper edge.
Yeah, you talked about
Uh,
that series too last week, how that was one you wanted to watch opening weekend.
yeah,
Braves were a team. They do spring training out in Florida, but they did play here in Mesa on their way out to San Diego, so they kind of eased their way out west and then kind of just threw a clunker. But it's not just you, Joy, because I know out in Vegas, the Braves were among one of the favorites to win it all this year. So definitely a surprising start, 0-5. I hate to see it, but like you mentioned, I mean, I saw him what is like a little less than a week ago down here, put up 13 runs. So, you know, take it all with a grain of salt.
oh yeah, yeah, you saw them.
Yeah, I did.
All right, that's great analysis right there.
Yep.
Other than that, I mean, the Brewers also own 4. Again, they just had that rough series against the Yankees. So other than that, any other team you want to kind of harp on? How about we talk about the Miami Marlins and how they had 3 walk-offs in a row?
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Marlins fans if you're still alive and still amongst
Right.
the living.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, t tough opening series too against the Pirates. It wasn't, not a complete pushover team to open with, but they don't ask you they don't ask you, how you win these games, but yeah, I mean, shout out to the Marlins. What did they take? 3 or 4 or something against Pittsburgh?
I think so, yeah. And now they got the torpedo bat guy.
Right.
Honestly, I see the Marlins winning the World Series at
I
this
was gonna
point.
say if they're not on the same arc that the Yankees are on, I don't know what to tell you. Like honestly, just whatever the odds are right now on them, just start hammering them to win it all.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, they're above Atlanta. Come on. What
Right.
are we doing here?
Right.
Um, Other than that, I think we can move on
Yeah.
from the standings. Um, let's talk about, you want to talk about your matchups of this upcoming week, as this will
Yeah.
post Wednesday. What matchups are we looking at?
Yeah, so we both took weekend series. I kind of, partially did that just because of how the flow of this episode goes being posted. But I'm taking the Orioles and Royals. This is a 3 game set starts on Friday. Orioles right now in a series with the Red Sox. Orioles took the first one 8-5, and they opened with the Blue Jays, where they surprisingly, at least for me, well, I guess yeah, they split. It was a really good opening day showing for them. They put up 12 on the board, and then good fight back by the Blue Jays. But the reason I took this series, I think two of the better younger teams in baseball moving forward into this year. Um, these are teams I think you typically um, probably would put in the front runners, at least probably of the teams that haven't had playoff pedigree quite yet. But I like the matchup, especially early in the season. I think it shows it shows a little bit where they have been in terms of like development of those young players since last year. Um, so yeah, I like this one, and like I said, like with the AL East, my whole thing is every game counts, and for the Orioles, you start out 3-2. You have a team in your division that's undefeated, so you have some work to do. Albeit early in the season, but definitely a series I'm interested in as well. As far as the Royals go, 2-2, AL Central, that's always a wild division, really up for grabs, just because you know uh, any one of those teams I think can probably be in the conversation, maybe minus the White Sox. So good weekend set. Like I said, two of the best young teams in baseball, and early in the year, so it's anyone's game.
Yeah. You talk about the two of the best young teams in baseball. I'm gonna talk about two best teams in baseball. I'm gonna talk about the Dodgers versus Phillies this weekend. Two powerhouses of just stacked lineups, stacked pitching staffs. That's what we want to see.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously the Dodgers are 6-0, Phillies are 3-1. Will the Phillies break the streak? Is what we all want. I feel like as of this recording Tuesday, April 1st, the Dodgers are playing the Braves tonight. So, and then Wednesday, I believe both teams are off. Oh no, Wednesday the Phillies will play the Rockies, and they'll play them Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday is uh is how it starts. No probable pitchers yet, so we'll see what happens. And I think Wheeler is um is pitching tonight, so no Wheeler for that series, but they'll probably start off with Nola and then Sanchez. So we'll see what lineup takes the cake. I'm excited,
yeah,
especially in a three-game series.
yeah.
Could be foreshadowing of the NL Championship series. So we'll see what happens, but that's all the matchups of the week in MLB we got for you this week, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see if the Angels are still in first place by next Wednesday.
I doubt it, but hey.
All right, dude. Let's move on.
All right. All right, moving on. Joey, this weekend we wrap things up down in San Antonio, the Final Four, as we start to close, obviously, the door on the month of March, but then March Madness coming to a close here. Only the second time all four number one seeds in the Final Four. Um, Florida taking on Auburn. That one's going to be the first one on Saturday, 3:05 start time here locally, and then get this Duke and Houston Saturday at 5:49 p.m. So, kind of continuing the trend of what we talked about. Like we were hoping for some upsets last episode in the Sweet 16 Elite Eight. Didn't happen. I will say Texas Tech did have a very good push to try to get to the Final Four against Florida. Didn't happen. Good comeback there by the Gators. And yeah, it leaves us with all of the number one seeds remaining. Um, in terms of the betting odds, Duke obviously the favorite to win it all, followed by Florida, Houston, and then Auburn. With the Auburn has the longest shot on the board left. But yeah, your thoughts, Joey? I know this is kind of the situation we were hoping we didn't get, but we got, and I mean here we are.
Yeah, all chalk. So again, not really something I'm a fan of, but it's going to be good quality basketball played. So you can't really argue. It's kind of like a win-lose situation.
Yeah,
Um, Florida, as long as Walter Clayton Jr. is on that court, they're in every game.
yeah,
That's what I've seen these past against Maryland, against UConn when they almost lost, and then against Tech when they almost lost. He put the ball in his hands. I mean, the shot selection that he was taking, he would just run to the three-point line, 360 spin, and just shoot it, and it would go in. It's like,
yeah.
all right, so that's what we're gonna do. Um,
Right.
we'll see what happens. This Florida Auburn game. I mean, I honestly think that's anybody's game, and then Duke Houston. I think Duke runs with it.
Yeah.
Again, we've been saying that about Houston this whole time. Gotta put some respect on their name. They've come out and they've dominated mostly every game, I feel like. Um, but yeah, we'll see. It's kind of surprising Auburn's the last favorite on this.
Yeah, I was surprised by that as well.
They I would say they're probably one of the hottest teams right now also
Yeah.
because my thing for picking them, I picked them in another bracket was like, they were the hottest team in the country for such a long time, running with the SEC.
Yeah.
Again, they had that bad like final couple games to end out the regular season. But once they get hot, they get hot. I believe Broom is their best player.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
And that brings up a good point too, because Broom he went down with an injury in that Elite Eight game as well. Ended up being okay, but uh, good resilience. I think the Auburn team too. Maybe not respected. Bruce Pearl has been one of the top coaches in the SEC and really in college basketball for the last couple of years now. So I got to give it to Auburn. And to be honest with you, maybe a little bit of a disservice to Auburn being the longest shot on the board. Given that they've been a really consistent team all year, 32 and 5. Florida's only lost one less game than Auburn. They both play in the same exact conference. So I think that game's a coin toss as well, 50-50. Florida, we mentioned it before, second most picked champion among brackets this year. But that's the game I'm looking forward to. I'm a little disappointed that that game didn't really get the prime time slot being the later game, but of course, as always, Duke carries the ratings, so that's what we're dealt with. And then as far as Houston and Duke goes, just a combined seven losses between those two teams. Houston, one of the teams entering the tournament with the highest winning percentage, 34-4 on the year. Um, they're led by LJ Cryer. He averages 15.4 a game, 40% from the field. But definitely a Houston team that relies more so heavily on the defense than they do on the offense. They only average 74 points a game. Duke averages almost 10 more than that. So if this is going to be a Houston upset this Saturday down in San Antonio, it's going to have to be, I think, one on the defensive side of the ball for them. And then maybe you just hope playing in the state of Texas, maybe you have a little bit of a home court advantage going into that one as well.
yeah. Let's talk about this Elite Eight, or I mean, we can go by Sweet 16.
Yeah,
Basically, Maryland sold me,
yeah,
in my bracket. Had them beating Florida. I thought they were on good hopes after barely beating Colorado State. Should have read the book there. That was not going to happen. Um, Other than that, that was probably the only one. Yeah, that was the only one I messed up on. Um, yeah, just Maryland. Really, I had Tennessee beating Houston in the Elite Eight. Do you think
yeah.
what thoughts on that? Thoughts on Tennessee?
I think, to be honest with you, the thing I was most surprised in that game because I took Clemson coming out of that region, so that was definitely
Wow.
my worst region for
Maybe
sure.
maybe we should just cut it there. And I don't know why I'm asking
I
you.
think I do lose all credibility there, but I think the biggest thing for me, 19 points. 19 points. This was a Tennessee team that beat a Kentucky team pretty handily. I thought Kentucky was a pretty good basketball team this year too, because Kentucky was one of the teams that beat Duke. So Tennessee goes out, handles Kentucky, but then kind of gets rolled by Houston. Once again, though, it was the Houston defense that won that game. Tennessee only scored 50 points. I mean, that's really unheard of, especially when you get down the line into the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, etc. So, um, if Houston, like I said, if they can hold Duke, uh, to a low scoring first half, I give them a very good chance. But Cooper Flag, to me at least so far this year, has shown me that he can play against some of the top defenses in the country. But yeah, the other thing too, I did want to follow up on because I know this was something we talked about in the last episode was the Michigan Auburn game. Michigan ended up getting beat by 13. So, I kind of have to go back on my word on that. But for the record, Michigan did give them a good push in that first half. So I was kind
What
of
was the
starting to get a
bet?
little
What was
excited.
did
We
someone make a gentleman's bet on that
we made
game?
a gentleman's bet. We didn't say there was anything on the line. So,
All right.
and to be fair, I also did pick Auburn to win that game. So, and at the same time, like, it was a win-win situation for me.
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up. You said 19 points. I'll do you one better. How about 20 points? And how about Alabama blowing their fucking wad against BYU? Putting up 113 against BYU. You come out against Duke, you put up 65.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie. After I watched that BYU game, a historic performance from Alabama from beyond the arc. I mean, they were just draining threes left and right. It was really like a shoot around practice. And then kind of came back down to earth with Duke. But honestly, I got to give credit where credit's due. Like there were flashes this season with Alabama and Nate Oates, especially in that game against BYU, where I thought they were a threat. I know you had them picked as a champ in one of your brackets, so I give credit where credit's due there. I think in any other region, to be honest, I think they're a Final Four team. I think they very well could have beat Michigan State in Auburn's region. I think they could have beat Texas Tech. I mean, really, like I think they're one of the top tier teams. They just got dealt a bad hand with being in the same region with Duke.
Yeah. But anyways, let's hear your thoughts. Who do you have winning? Who do you have winning and who do you have in the ship now that they're all number one seeds? The people want to know the guy that took Clemson to the Final Four, who do you have winning this
Well, I'm sure after hearing that, a lot of people really value and care about my opinion. So of course, I'm going to going to put my 2 cents into it. Florida versus Auburn, a good game. I think that's like I mentioned before. I think that's probably the game of the day on Saturday. Auburn, a team that beat Michigan State by 6 points. Like I said, great coaching. Florida had struggles of their own. I'm going to take Florida in this one, though. I think Florida just on paper, the better team. In kind of, I've liked their run a little bit more so far in the tournament. I think they've shown less deficiencies in their matchup. And then for Duke Houston, I'm going to take Duke over Houston. I would love to see Houston win it. Just number one, of course, no one really likes to see Duke win. And number two, I do value and respect defensive teams when it comes to college basketball because a lot of times in college basketball, you can get away with having a good offense. I think that's too, like, when you look at the difference between college basketball and the NBA, I think defense is the biggest difference that we see talent-wise. So I definitely respect good defensive teams when it comes to college basketball, but I think Duke's too good for Houston in this one. And I've mentioned it before. I'll say it again. I picked Duke to win it all in my bracket. I'm sticking with that decision.
all right.
But I'll be thrilled
So,
to hear what you have to say because, like I said, nobody values an opinion coming from someone who took Clemson to the Final Four. So,
well, I'm not much better, buddy. So, um, I mean, it doesn't matter. Listen, this March Madness was ass. I'm just gonna put it blank.
uh,
There was no
I,
Cinderella runs. I was not a
I'm
fan of
I'm
it
100%
at
with you.
all.
I think honestly one of the worst I
Um,
can remember.
yeah, it was just. I think I said it before. These teams would get close to making an upset and then just
Yeah,
never pull through. That's literally the common theme. The better team won. Sometimes it's cool to see the not better team win. That's
yeah,
what people want
yeah.
to see.
That's what we want to see.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm not thrilled about picking these teams. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Florida, Auburn, I'm gonna take Florida just because Walter Clayton Jr. What I saw, I mean, they were down what 10 with 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
Yeah, as if he's on the court, they Auburn. I like Auburn. I picked them in the other bracket that I'm doing well in, but
yeah,
dude, Florida's insane. But honestly, I was just looking at the stats. The most even stats I've seen. Florida kind of leads it in the offensive categories, but by like one, and then Auburn leads in defensive categories by like one or two. So split on that, but I'll do Florida, and then I'm gonna do Duke. Obviously, I think if you don't have Duke winning it, I don't know what basketball you've been watching, but even with like, Steven Nelson was guarding Cooper Flag. Steven Nelson plays for Alabama, if you guys don't know that. But great matchup there. And then he kind of gets shut down. Without Cooper Flag, I still think this team can make the Final Four.
yeah,
So that just
yeah.
shows you how deep they are.
I think it's worth mentioning too. This was like the craziest thing that I've heard all tournament, and I had to check it. Was, believe it or not, the last national championship that Duke won was 2015. So it's been a decade. Every year, we're hearing about them winning it all. They haven't pulled through on their end of the bargain since 2015. So just saying, just putting that out there. It has been a decade, and they have been favorites to win it all before, and they haven't held up. So um, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we get the chaos, but also I think another thing that a lot of people are talking about is it sucks because there were no Cinderella stories. Like we had the weird subplot of the manager of the McNeese team. Like that was really the only like I guess like viral thing we had this, and even at that it was kind of whatever, short lived. Um,
Yeah.
but maybe it is a sign of the times. Like for me, the discrepancy between college basketball and the NBA is very big talent wise. But maybe this is good, right? Maybe the basketball this weekend will be more high caliber. Maybe, we'll see better games. But I just don't see, I mean, I think even with that being there, I'd rather see the Cinderella runs, like the Sister Jeans and the Loyola U's of the world make runs at the Final Four. So
So
that's
wait,
just me
why are
though.
you wait, why I just want to know why are you comparing the NBA to college basketball right now?
Well, because first off, we're gonna segue in about 5 seconds to the NBA. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and number two, um, I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to watch college basketball sometimes. Maybe that's just me,
Because
but
because they play defense or like what?
no, because they don't play defense. They don't
What
have
do
to,
you
because guys can step. It's crazy to me. I watched this March Madness, right? And there's guys wide open threes, uncontested threes, and they just fired off the front of the rim. That's a guaranteed thing in the NBA. Is it's all net. So that's where my caveat with college basketball comes. But that's just me.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I've heard that take a few times now.
Like let,
That,
let, let, let,
it's
let
it's
me
all
put it
the
this way
NBA
too.
casual fans saying that, like
Sure, 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 sure.
these guys, how they're not making these wide open shots. Well, maybe because they're not part of the Lakers and they don't have like that money on that.
Let me put it this way. I think, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people like this these past 2 weeks. I think
Yeah.
the NFL and college football are a lot closer than the NBA and college basketball. Talent
How?
wise. Talent wise.
You said
Just talent
talent wise.
wise. Yeah. All you gotta
Can
do
you
is look
ex
at all you gotta do is look at where the top draft picks in college basketball go into the NBA in their impact on their respective teams, and then the top draft picks from college football to the NFL. I think they transfer a lot quicker, and that's also considering that there are 11 guys on a football team. So it's to me, it's all the more impressive that college football players typically make that transfer quicker. But you know, the NBA is what the most talented, like only 200 guys in the world. 15 guys a team. So you also have to take that into consideration. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe my mind will be changed this weekend with the four number one seeds squaring off for March Madness.
Yeah. I mean, I saw quality basketball. I'm not gonna lie, but again, this is the beauty of a one game and gone.
Yeah.
NBA, you got a series, and you got other games to bounce back on. But in this game, you have that one bad game, bro. Then everyone's
Yeah.
gonna ride you like
Yeah.
Edward Neiman is right now.
Okay.
How's he missing these wide open threes?
Right.
So, um, but yeah, I'm gonna take going back to our final four. I'm gonna say Duke wins it all.
Okay.
Very
I'm
generic,
glad.
but
I'm glad.
that's,
No, I'm glad we're in agreement on that because I feel like that's the right pick. So I would rather both of us be wrong than, you know, one of us be right.
I mean, yeah. The way I'm only, and another reason to pick on. Look how this March Madness has gone, bro. It's all chalk. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
ride the chalk.
Yeah. And also one last thing too. Next year, whenever I'm joining bracket groups, this is like the first year I joined like five or all these bracket groups. I think it's really more advantageous just to pick the chalks, right? Because when you're in a bracket group, you're not necessarily trying to get the perfect bracket. You're trying to get the best bracket among the group. So I think it's really safer just to take the chalks because I think that gives you a better percentage of winning. And that's what I learned this year is stop trying to predict the upsets. Just try to pick, what's going to end up giving you the best chance to being the most right. And at that point, with the NIL and all of this transfer portal stuff, might as well just take the chalks.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad take, but at the same time, you want to take the upsets because if that upset happens and
And no one has
everyone
it.
else, yeah,
Right.
then you're taking the lead.
Right.
So again, you took Clemson in the Final Four. Let's move on.
Right. Okay. So with that, championship game though happening on Monday, so we won't be able to jump back on before that. But I'm sure we'll touch on it next episode. But jumping into the NBA, real basketball, of course, real talent. Um, let's talk about this Stephen A. LeBron James beef, okay? Because this has been boiling
No,
over.
no, 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 no. Hold on. Pause, 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 bro. You say you just segued into the NBA with real talent and real like players, whatever you just said, and then you go into the Stephen A. and LeBron beef,
Yes.
bro. You gotta come on, bro. Who's writing these scripts?
I could not tell you, man. See, at the PNN podcast, we have like people under us that write these scripts. Like we're just handed the script, every
Yeah,
day, and
we're
we just
too
jump on.
busy to
Right,
actually do our own scripts.
right. No, but
Yeah,
the Stephen A. LeBron James beef, we got to talk about this because this has been boiling over for well over a week, and we haven't talked about it yet. All right. So Stephen A. Smith, the ESPN analyst who just signed a new gazillion-dollar deal, okay, with ESPN, is beefing with you call it 1A, 1B, a top two player of all time in the NBA, LeBron James. And something I
one
really didn't
B.
see. Okay. Uh, Nonetheless, I don't know. This is crazy to me. This is crazy to me. For those who don't know, just to catch you up on this, this all stems around Bronny James. Okay, this is goes back to comments that Stephen A. made early in the season, kind of leading up into the draft about questioning Bronny James's I guess validity being in the NBA just based on his talent, maybe kind of alluding to a little bit of nepotism, maybe that Bronny's in the league just because of his father. Um, but none, whether you believe that's true or not, whatever. But this kind of boiled over. LeBron James confronted Stephen A. Courtside a couple weeks back at the game, mid game too. It was like in between a timeout. It was kind of weird timing, but confronted Stephen A. And then Stephen A. went and got on the show the next day, or maybe it was a few days after. Um, and he said that if LeBron James would have touched him in that situation, he would have immediately swung on LeBron. And a lot of fallout from this, like LeBron James was on the Pat McAfee show. Back at what was that, like a week ago now,
Hmm.
when LA was in Indianapolis to take on the Pacers. So like a lot of beef going on. I'm kind of getting Kendrick Drake, part two vibes with this. And maybe it's the next big feud that we're talking about on the PNN podcast. If you don't remember, like that was the last beef that we really delved into. But your
Yeah,
thoughts, Joey, your thoughts, your thoughts.
yeah. No, this is your Kendrick versus Drake beef. This is your version of it, literally. I mean, your favorite player going against a guy you've watched since, since you turned on ESPN. Um, Thoughts on this? I wouldn't say I believe Stephen A. Smith, you know. With that what is he like 160, 180 build
Right,
against a 6'8" LeBron James,
right.
6'9".
Like
Yeah,
250, yeah,
he's swinging on him in public. I believe that. I believe
right.
that. In front of everybody at a Lakers game. I believe that.
Yeah, and it's still up
Um,
there too. Like LeBron, his response to this was he posted a video of Stephen A. from like a year ago when Stephen A. was actually throwing punches at the mitts, and it wasn't too impressive. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, LeBron was on the Pat McAfee show. That was cool. I mean, that was a great experience. That was like a uncensored LeBron with just kicking it with the boys. Um, he went in there, basically said what he had to say. Shout out to him for not like backing away from it and saying, I don't want to touch on this. But like you said, it was literally all just because he's a father and he had to step up.
yep.
And I don't think anyone can blame him for that. I mean, it's like once in a few times where your dad is the greatest, you know, in the league. So I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I think it is dumb, I think. So
Yeah, and as far as Bronny goes too, because we're in like this weird lull for the NBA kind of anyway, like 10 games remaining on the regular season. So maybe we're talking about, but to me, Bronny James, maybe him playing for the Lakers is not the right fit right now. We've seen Bronny playing garbage minutes. He has played decent in like moments, right? But I gotta respect Bronny because he's taken the less glamorous route. He's played in the G League. He's put a lot of work in the G League. So I think, as Stephen A, like you have to understand, like LeBron James is also coming at you from like what you said, a father perspective, right? Um, but at the same time, too, like I don't think Bronny's complete trash. I mean, he was one of the last picks in the draft, right? How many 50 plus picks have you seen, after, pick number 50 really turn out to be a superstar in the NBA? Not many. Not many. So I think as far as the Lakers drafting him, LeBron James is given a lot to the game of basketball. So maybe this was kind of a little gesture for them saying, hey, like we'll roll the dice, we'll take a risk on him. And I think if if you're like Stephen A, you can't really fault the Lakers for doing that. Especially to like LeBron James, he can, he's one of the players with a no trade clause, but he can kind of call his own shots. So maybe a little bit of pressure there from the Lakers to pick him. But nonetheless, like Bronny James has not bullied his way into the NBA saying like, I need to play, in like prime time TNT ESPN games. Like he has taken the less glamorous route and put in the work. So kind of weird, just for me, Stephen A. Like there was no reason he had to say that he would have immediately swung on LeBron. Like that was never, and really watching it. Like LeBron James is a little animated, but it never like looked like it was about to spill over to a fight to me. I don't know.
No, no, no. I mean, he did the honestly kind of calling out LeBron here, like he's gonna see this at all. But I mean, I think it would have been better to do it not in the public. Obviously, I mean that's kind of how everything is now. But
E-
um,
The interesting thing I've seen about that too, though, is the fact that isn't obvious not it's not the first beef that Stephen A's been in with players. Okay, like you know, he's on TV every morning. It just happens. Um,
yeah,
but he has told players in the NBA. You know where to find me. I'm courtside at MSG. I'm courtside at the Staples Center. I'm courtside at all these games. If you want to talk to me, you know where to find me. And so it's weird to me that LeBron James, literally, I mean, there's clips out there, heeded Stephen A's advice and confronted him courtside, and Stephen A had a problem with that. Just weird to me. Because Stephen A has been all about the smoke, courtside, you know where to find me. I'm not hard to find. But then when guys find him, it's a big issue. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see how long this will go. Um, I thought LeBron was great on the Pat McAfee show. I'm not a big Pat McAfee fan, but I thought that episode was great because Pat McAfee, I think, did his job in terms of like getting LeBron in like this comfortable environment to where LeBron opened up a little more than I'm used to him seeing.
yeah, yeah. That's usually what happens on the Pat McAfee show with these guys. I mean, you see guys like Paul Skeens who doesn't do any like social media at all. He's been on there like t two times and three times. So
Yeah, of
I mean, that's just how it is. Yeah, man. Me personally, I think Kendrick and Drake was better,
course.
you know, but that's just me.
We'll see. I honestly don't see this prolonging much further. Like playoff time is coming up, so I think LeBron James is probably got bigger fish to fry at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Some other NBA news though to get into. Like I said, we're kind of in the same spot we were last week, just in terms of the playoff push here. Injury bug though hitting a little bit around the league. Zion and McCollum for the Pelicans, they were just ruled out for the rest of the season. The bigger one that I put on here, Damian Lillard, no timetable on him for a return. Blood clots in his leg that they found shut him down pretty much immediately once they figured that out. Bucks are in an interesting position. 6 games over 500, 4-6 in their last 10, losers of their last four. Being in sixth place, that is the last spot in the playoff ladder that you missed the play-in tournament. So I don't know, Joey. The Eastern Conference has been a wild, wild ride all year long. But if you're the Bucks, like not the time you want to miss Dame, especially when you're trying to avoid that play-in spot.
Yeah. And we've seen this happen with teams like the Dallas Mavericks, how they
Yeah,
had all those injuries and then they give away a spot. So it's just what happens late in the season really matters. And
yeah.
it's like you said, not the time to have key injuries. But I believe, yeah, like you said, this blood clot issue, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, didn't Wemby also get shut down earlier this year
Yeah.
because of the same thing?
Yeah. And this is one of those like scary injuries because, like I said, there is no timetable on return, and that's not just something they're saying like we don't know when. Like I don't. They honestly, it just really depends on the severity of it, and then also like how they can try to like the response to it and the treatment to it. So kind of a scary
Yeah.
thing too. Those are not the type of injuries like guys don't always like quickly recover from those, so it's kind of scary. Especially Damian Lillard, I think one of the players like surprisingly still going under the radar was underrated in Portland. Now he goes and plays in Milwaukee, like wildly still underrated to me. And I think they're still in a win now position, but obviously. his absence has had immediate effects. Like I said, they've lost four in a row. Tough position to be in down the stretch here, especially because we know avoiding the play-in is such a big thing too now in the NBA. Like having to play an extra game or two can be all the difference. Um, especially when you got to go down the stretch later in the playoffs and play 7 game series. So definitely not the spot the Bucks want to be in, but still some winnable games on their schedule. They're at home to play the Suns. Then they go out east, take on the 76ers, Heat, Pelicans before returning home to take on the Timberwolves and Pelicans, and then they conclude their regular season with a home and home with the Pistons. So interesting race out there in the East. Some also notes here in the NBA. Celtics 2 wins away from tying the Warriors 2015-2016 road record. 2015-2016 Warriors, as we know, regular season overall record, but they had a road record of 34-7. Celtics are at 32-7. So the Celtics playing good basketball on the road. Joy, that's one thing you'd love to see ahead of the playoffs too, being able to go into opposing teams' environments and be able to put up wins in bunches.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. I mean, only 7 losses on the road. It's
Yeah,
insane. Did you just mention that they're on a 9 game winning streak
I did
also?
not. I
Because
did not.
that is also a key factor. But again, not gonna harp on it too much, but we said it before, the road goes through Boston. That's how it's been,
Yep.
even though they're not even the 1 seed. But I mean, for rightfully so, that they're just deep,
Yeah.
deep team, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, we're looking for those upsets to happen, but at this point, I mean, it might just be like the college basketball
Yeah.
scene where it's all chalk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We could very well be getting that.
Yeah.
I think the most surprising news here in the NBA, the Grizzlies, they fired their head coach, Taylor Jenkins, the winningest Grizzlies coach in history. He was in his sixth season in Memphis and fifth place in the Western Conference. By the way, the Western Conference, everyone's like pretty much one game apart from each other. Yeah, they just go ahead and fire their coach. They were 44-29. And of his 6 seasons in Memphis, only two losing seasons. A guy that was brought in along the same timetable that John Morant was brought in to Memphis, and the Grizzlies go ahead and just fire him right before the playoff push. To me, got to be a bigger story, right? You don't just go and fire a guy less than 10 games before the playoffs when you're in fifth place. And, fifth place, but also like with the ability to move up as high as second in the Western Conference, just given how close those teams were. So to me, something bigger had to be going on there, something maybe in the locker room. Not sure, don't want to speculate, but at the same time, like, you don't fire a coach like that.
Yeah. Um, we saw that happen with the Bucks, I believe, last year.
Yeah,
I forgot who they fired, but then they get like Doc Rivers.
yeah,
And it was like at the beginning of the season, everyone was like, why would you do that? And why would you
right,
get Doc Rivers out of anybody? So yeah, they said at least what I remember from the Bucks experience was like locker room issues, not being able to handle the team. They want to get rid of him early so that, they could have a better run. Obviously, it didn't really turn out that way. Yeah, I don't really see the reason why to now. I mean, it has to be something massive
right.
for them to do it this time of year. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like not the time to be having that type of issue.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we'll continue to monitor that. I believe they lost their last 2 games out of post firing him, so I guess that's not, crazy. But like I said, you also look at this Western Conference Grizzlies right now, half game ahead of the Warriors, only a game ahead of the Timberwolves and Clippers. So potentially, like if the Grizzlies continue to lose, they're on a 3 game losing streak, 3-7 in their last 10. You could see them slide as far as eighth because there were only between them and eighth place, only a game separating them. So you could go from avoiding the play-in to having to win 2 play-in games just to make the playoffs. And of course, the absence of a coach that has been there for the past 6 years probably not going to help you too much. But yeah, as far as the big picture, pretty much everything's the same. Cavaliers atop the East, Thunder atop the West. The West, a lot of shuffling still to do. Um, and the Eastern Conference a little more spread out, but still kind of a very chalky playoff race so far in the NBA.
Yeah. How about the Phoenix Suns dropping out of the plane right now? I mean, probably
Yeah,
the worst team in basketball, I would say. at this point, and then the Dallas Mavericks sneak in at the 9 spot, and the Kings are at the 10 spot right now. So
Yeah,
that's
and
probably like the only headline to look at right now from the West Conference.
yeah, I mean that was something we talked about last week too, because the Mavericks were down in 11, the Kings, or excuse me, the Suns were in 10, and then they kind of just, since the recording of the last episode, Suns start to slide a little bit, loses over the last three. Mavericks, you know, I guess put together a couple wins. Yeah, you know, the Mavericks right now were kind of win one, lose one. But yeah, Western Conference, like the playing race for their very, very interesting Suns, like you said, probably one of the more underperforming teams in the NBA this year, given the expectations. Kevin Durant, he's right now out a week. That was announced a couple days ago. Rolled his ankle or did something. So not great timing, but yeah, maybe time to rebuild down here in the Valley. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Footprint Center isn't even the Footprint anymore,
Right.
so it's the
Nameless.
Phoenix Arena.
Yeah. Yeah. Phoenix Arena. So I don't know,
Yeah,
man. But
terrible.
uh but yeah, that's what I got for the NBA. I don't know if you want to add anything, Joy, before we get out of here, but obviously next week's episode we'll have the winner of March Madness and you know, some more from the MLB and also of course the NBA as we start to get closer to the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything to add to the NBA at all. I would just say look at that Western Conference playing. That's about it. Next week though, we will be bringing back the Fighters Corner. I know it's been a while.
You know.
Gotta get boxing, gotta get UFC back in the mix. It's been too long, I feel like, Edward. I feel like
Yeah.
it's been way too long. Overdue. So that will be back next week in next week's episode. Um, other than that, I think it's a good episode.
As always, make sure to like, subscribe, share with friends, comment. You know, we always, you know, we don't duck any smoke on the PNN podcast too. So, I mean, you leave a comment, you know, want us to talk about something or want us to, you know, back up our receipts. We're cool with that as well. So, make sure to do that. But yeah, great episode ahead next week. Make sure to tune in for that. But yeah, until then, for Joey and Edward, we'll talk to you next week, here on the PNN podcast.
Yes, sir.